In fact, this kind of blind accusation has no justification at all. People in the Shadow Moon Hall know it, and people in other forces also know it. But who let Emperor Garden float above the site of Shadow Moon Hall? Everyone was afraid that the Shadow Moon Hall who is near knew about it, but they did not make it clear that now there is such a thing. It is natural for them to make a fuss. After some bargaining and even quarreling, the major forces on the Shadowed Star can be considered to have reached a unified opinion. That is, even if the Emperor Garden is opened, the mini-masters of the Shadow Moon Hall cannot enter in advance, and they must wait for other forces to converge and make plans, or they will become a public enemy. The current situation of the Shadow Moon Hall, although it cannot be said that it is like walking on thin ice, it is not good. After all, they has only experienced an internal trouble before, and the people are in panic, and they urgently need to recuperate. Faced with such unfair proposals, they can only agree. Nowadays, Heavenly Fate City is almost overcrowded. The number of people left by all parties is huge. The post and inn in Heavenly Fate City are already full of people, and the business is full. Even some small families in the surrounding area have to be responsible for receiving one or two and providing accommodation for those forces. When there are more people, there will be more conflicts. After all, the major forces on the Shadowed Star are not so harmonious, and there are many competitions and grievances between each other. Once they meet together, they will not agree with each other and fight against each other. Martial artists die almost every day. The Shadow Moon Hall, as the host, naturally does not interfere with the grudges of these foreign forces. As long as they do not interfere with their own interests, they will maintain a posture of being on the sidelines. In the cave mansion, Xianxia injected Space Force into those weird things as Yang Yan requested. While listening to her talk, he asked a few words from time to time. Yang Yan also answered one by one. While he was busy, Yang Yan suddenly moved and found a messaging compass from the space ring. She released her spiritual mind and felt it. She looked at Xianxia strangely, and her expression was ambiguous. "What's the matter?" Xianxia asked in shock. "Someone is looking for you." Yang Yan pursed her lips and said with deep meaning, "Your old acquaintance." Old acquaintance? Xianxia's face turned dark. He didn't know many people on Shadowed Star. There are not many who can really climb into this kind of friendship. Yang Yan said it was his old acquaintance, and for a while, he can't remember who it is looking for him, and when she said that it was his old acquaintance, he obviously thought it was a little strange. Who? Xianxia simply didn't guess. Dayuan. Yang Yan replied with a smile. Dayuan. Xianxia frowned. If someone else came, he could claim that he was not in Dragon Cave Mountain. Not going to see the guest, but for Dayuan, it would be wrong to do so. In any case, she gave him a glass bead, and he got a lot of benefits from it, and more. The stone puppet dug a passage through the 1,000 imaginary colored glass mountain last time, and Xianxia didn't know if she found out about it on the colored glass sect afterwards. Maybe he could use her to find out about it. Thinking of this, Xianxia stood up and said, "I'll take a look." While talking, he go to the outside. After a short while, people came to the front of Dragon Cave Mountain. Take out the token and pour the Saint Yuan into it, and blast a mysterious light from the token, and the large formation that closed the Dragon Cave Mountain immediately split a road leading to the outside. Before Xianxia took the steps, he heard a noisy voice from outside, and he couldn't help feeling suspicious. Could it be that more than one person came with Dayuan? When he heard what the outsiders were talking about, his face sank again, and his pace accelerated a little. At the moment, outside the Dragon Cave Mountain, Dayuan stood there beautifully. If one only looked at her back, then anyone would think that the woman was a peerless beauty, and the graceful back seemed to show a magical power, involving people's spirits, constantly sinking into the depths, making people unable to extricate themselves. But if you turn to her front, no one can associate her with the word beauty. Dayuan is still the same as before, with a black face and yellowish face, ugly, and not covered with a face towel. She shows people this face in a generous manner, without any embarrassment. Beside her, a group of more than a dozen martial artists with different levels of service and uniformity were looking at her. Many people showed disgust unscrupulously and pointed at her. Among the crowd, a few women raised their smooth shins slightly, with a look of superiority. They are not too beautiful, but when compared with Dai Yuan's face, everyone immediately became a beauty, and gave birth to a sense of superiority. "Hey, I am talking to you, are you a dumb woman?" The leader of the group shouted loudly at Dai Yuan. Dai Yuan turned her head, glanced at him lightly, and didn't mean to answer. This ignorant attitude immediately annoyed the leading martial artist, and said with a sneer, "Smelly woman, shamelessly, don't think you are a woman and dare not do it to you. Although you look a little ugly, but at any rate, still a woman. The little master will give you a face, but don't refuse a toast only to be forced a drink of forfeit." Dai Yuan's eyebrows wrinkled, and there was a trace of disgust on her face, but she quickly recovered. In the past, if she heard these words, she would definitely be unable to hold back and make a big fight. Her appearance was inverted before. But now, after being detoxified by Xianxia, her appearance has been restored as before, and her face is just disguised, so even if the other party said it was unpleasant, she did not let it go to her heart. "Brother Hai, talk nonsense with her, just catch it directly. Seeing that she comes here to find someone, she must have something to do with the people inside. We have been waiting here for a few days, but the master here hasn't even showed up yet. Doesn't put us in the eyes." In the crowd, another person yelled impatiently, eager to try. "Oh, who do I want to put in my eyes?" A slightly sneered voice suddenly came out from inside Dragon Cave Mountain. During the speech, a large barrier burst in front of their eyes, suddenly cracked a gap, revealing the figure of a young man from inside. "Xianxia." Dai Yuan looked overjoyed and walked up to greet him quickly. "Dai Yuan girl." Xianxia nodded at her gently, then raised his eyes and swept the group of people standing outside, said lightly, "These people are with you?" Dai Yuan slowly shook her head and said softly, "They belong to Sea Heart Sect." Sea Heart Sect? Never heard of it. Xianxia curled his lips. Although he still doesn't know much about the distribution and strength of the major forces on the Shadowed Star until now, but at least the relatively large forces he have heard about it. He hasn't really heard of this Sea Heart Sect, which shows that this force should not be very good. However, Dai Yuan has a wide range of knowledge, otherwise she would not be able to see their origin from the clothes of these people, and whispered, "It is the power of the Saraolous Ocean. It is normal that you have not heard of it." So that's the case. Xianxia knew that Saraolous Ocean was far away from here. If the Emperor Garden was not born, they would definitely not have come here. "Are you the master of this place?" At Sea Heart Sect side, the leading warrior looked up and down Xianxia and asked in surprise. "Yes, I am the master of this place." Xianxia grinned. "It's just right, since you are the master of this place, then you can speak up." The martial artist saw that Xianxia's cultivation level was not high, only the third order Saint King stage, and he couldn't help being a little contemptuous, with a trace of arrogance hanging on his face. "We are the Saraolous Ocean Sea Heart Sect's disciple. This mountain range is now being requisitioned by our Sea Heart Sect. Go back and let the people inside clean up and make room for some accommodation." He looked carefree, as if he was ordering his subordinates to do something, and he was not polite. When Dai Yuan heard this, a strange color appeared on her face, turned her head and glanced at Xianxia, wondering whether these people regarded Xianxia as the patriarch of the small family attached to the Royal Highness Shadow Moon. Xianxia also had this conjecture. Although he didn't understand what was going on when he first came out, he gave him a rough idea after a little thought. For example, Heavenly Fate City is overcrowded today, and many martial artists from outside cannot find a place to stay. As a result, some small families nearby have become their targets. In order to monitor the movements of the Emperor Garden, it is natural to find a good location. And Dragon Cave Mountain is located almost directly below the Emperor Garden. It is in an excellent location and will naturally be appreciated by many people. Speaking of which, in these days, many martial artists belonging to the major forces have taken a fancy to Dragon Cave Mountain, wanting to enter the interior of Dragon Cave Mountain and stay for the time being, but the formation array of Dragon Cave Mountain is so exquisite. Some people see that this place is extraordinary, and did not dare to bother. Some people also know that the owner of Dragon Cave Mountain is a young man who can kill the strongman Void Return Stage Master, and he has a good relationship with Qiantong. Of course, they will not trespass, but the Sea Heart Sect comes from Sorrowless Ocean. Without knowing anything, it is inevitable to do these things. There are many secrets in Dragon Cave Mountain, and various large formations cover it, not to mention the Sea Heart Sect. Even if the people from Battle Sky Union or Thunder Typhoon Sect came, Xianxia would not let it go, let alone these people. Of course, saying as if letting them live in Dragon Cave Mountain is their own glory, it really makes Xianxia angry. With a word of expropriation, he had to give up Dragon Cave Mountain. The tone of this Sea Heart Sect was bigger than the sky. Thinking of this, Xianxia's eyes turned and he laughed and clenched his fists. It turned out to be the friends of Sea Heart Sect. His expression that has been admired for a long time has made Sea Heart Sect people much more beneficial. Everyone is thinking that his sect's reputation is so great that it has spread to the Shadow Moon Hall, and he is proud and leisurely. At the beginning, the leader looked back triumphantly at his younger brothers and sisters, then turned to look at Xianxia, and said with a smile, "You don't need to say anything, since you know that we are Sea Heart Sect. Open the door, go and prepare quickly. It doesn't matter for me and the dozen others, but my uncle will be here for a while. You better serve him well. My uncle's temper is not very good. If he is not satisfied, you will know the consequences." When he said this, he made the threat sound so strong that if the service is bad it would cause disaster for Dragon Cave Mountain. To be continued.